It's time to breathe again on the Breath of Fresh Air webcast on YouTube. I am Charles, and I am hoping Patrick Brackett can join me here in a little bit. I don't know where he's at right now, but hopefully he could join me here in the next few minutes. Other than that, we have a lot to cover, and let's see, we could start in a whole host of places. Uh, I guess we could start with college football, seeing how, well, Georgia lost to Alabama on Saturday. So, look, hopefully Patrick can come on here and he can give his views because, of course, he had predicted Alabama was going to lose. I thought Alabama was going to win, and Alabama did end up winning 41-24. Um, in that game, look, I feel like Georgia was playing well until I say about the third quarter. They gave up the big play to Waddle, where it made them fall behind 27-24. And then Stetson Bennett, the quarterback for Georgia, they were driving, and then he threw an interception, and everything just kind of went from there for Alabama. All this stuff about their defense, it kind of just went away, just simply because they were able to make the adjustments, and they didn't let Georgia score for the whole second half. Of course, the week before, they had given up 48 points to Ole Miss. Everybody was talking about how the defense was looking terrible, looking weak. Look, I feel like that was probably one of those isolated instances. Alabama's defense is not going to give up 48 points every week. It's just that simple. And look, Georgia, I feel like they played well, though. I don't feel like this was one of those situations where Georgia just got blowed out. The score indicated that they caught a big L, but I don't think the score um, was as lopsided, or the game was as lopsided as the score indicated. But be as it may, Alabama is still the class of the SEC. I do think, like I said last week, there will be a rematch of some sort between the two. I think Georgia will come out of the East and represent them in the SEC championship game. And of course, I think Alabama will represent the West side. Georgia still has the game with Florida, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. But I still think Georgia will beat Florida in that game and march on, and they will meet again in the SEC championship. So, look, I think the game was a good one up until that point where Bennett threw the interception, and then Alabama pulled away. Um, it's just that simple. I think Alabama is still the class of the SEC, and again, Georgia, they played well through 2.5, almost 3 quarters, couldn't finish. And that's been their story against Alabama the last couple of years. When they played them, they haven't been able to finish. So that's my thoughts on it. Hopefully Patrick can come on here to give his thoughts. I don't know where he's at, but hopefully he will join to give his thoughts because, I mean, he needs to. He got the pick wrong. So that's what's going on with that game. Other happenings that happened. North Carolina, who was ranked number 5, caught a loss to Florida State. Auburn lost to South Carolina. And there's no telling where these rankings are going to go. You have the Big Ten and the Big Ten, excuse me, the Pac-12 will start their season a few weeks later. But the Big Ten is supposed to start their season this week. We'll see how that goes. It looks like Ohio State, which same story as it's been every year. Looks like Ohio State is the class of that conference, and I'm sure there will be teams that are hyped up that are supposed to be able to beat them. I don't see it happening, especially not Michigan. And then, like I said, the Pac-12 will start their season, so there's no telling how the rankings are going to go. Notre Dame moved up to number 3. I don't think they're that good at all. Same story with them. They're always kind of overhyped, but when they play better competition, they'll go ahead and they'll get knocked down again. And just like some of the other teams, like Miami, same thing. They beat Pittsburgh, but of course, when they play Clemson, they got whooped 42-17. So, yeah, look, it's going to be one of those years. Everything is just kind of a little bit off kilter. Everything's a little bit crazy. Because of what has been happening with COVID, and rankings are going to be all out of whack. So it's just going to be one of those things where we just have to watch. Even with everything being crazy, it still looks like Alabama and Clemson are the teams to beat in college football. So let's move on to Major League Baseball. Now, these were these are two of the topics. You remember a couple of weeks ago when Patrick said we always begin with the NFL? I felt like this was a good week to begin the webcast with other topics because, hey, these are his teams that we're talking about. First, we talked about Georgia, and now here it is with the Atlanta Braves. Man, if you're a Georgia or an Atlanta sports fan, I don't know what to say to you, because it seems like every time you guys get close to something, whether it's a World Series title or a Super Bowl title or whatever title, y'all just can't finish. The Braves had a 3-1 lead on the Los Angeles Dodgers. They blew the lead, lost Game 7 on Sunday night 4-3, and now it's the Dodgers playing the Tampa Bay Rays in the World Series in Game 1 right now. Look, Atlanta had their chances, even in Game 7. They had the early lead 2-0, and then they were leading 3-2. They had a terrible base running blunder, I think in the 4th or 5th inning, and they had runners on second and third with no outs when that happened. All of a sudden, one of the runners got caught in a rundown, got tagged, and then the other one got ran down at third base or gunned down at third base, and they came out with no runs in that inning. That turned the game around, and the Dodgers were able to get a couple of home runs, one from Kiko Hernandez, the other one in the 7th, the one that ended up being the winning home run from Cody Bellinger, and the Dodgers move on. So I just don't know what to say to the Atlanta sports fan right now. It seems like every time you guys get a lead, something happens, some craziness happens, and you guys cannot finish. So it's just really tough, really rough for you guys to just finish games. And I just don't know when Atlanta sports teams are going to be able to finish. It is tough being an Atlanta fan. My heart does go out to you because y'all been so close and yet so far away. So as it is, look, talk about the winning teams now. The Dodgers and the Rays are playing. I have the Dodgers in 6. I think they have a little bit too much for Tampa Bay, although I would not be surprised to see Tampa Bay win. Tampa Bay is a scrappy team. They have very good pitching, very good starting pitching, very good bullpen pitching. And it's going to be one of those series like I was talking about when it comes to playing, when the Rays played the New York Yankees. They have to be able to keep the games pretty low scoring, 3-2, 2-1, maybe even 4-3. If they're able to keep the scores there, then they have a shot. If it starts getting above 5-6 runs, then I think they're in trouble. I do think the Dodgers have a little bit too much firepower for them, and they will win this series in 6 games. So with that, let's move on to the NFL. And something that came up today is the Miami Dolphins decided to name Tua Tagovailoa as the starter. So I guess this is pretty much a permanent move. I'm kind of curious about the timing of this move, simply because Miami have been playing pretty well with Ryan Fitzpatrick at the helm. Now, I don't think anybody's surprised at this move. A lot of people felt like Tua would get the starting job eventually. But it was supposed to be kind of a situation, or at least to my understanding, it was supposed to be a situation where Miami was struggling and everything was kind of just, you're pretty much on a rebuilding path. They weren't really expected, or at least from most of the forecasters that I had seen, or the predictions I had seen, Miami wasn't looked at to be in the race necessarily for the AFC East title. They were supposed to be looked at as an improved team, a team that can perhaps surprise some people, but not really be in the mix for the AFC East. As it is, they're right there. They are 3-3. They have won two in a row, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, particularly in the last couple of weeks, has played really, really well. Now, granted, they beat the New York Jets, and the New York Jets honestly shouldn't be in the NFL anymore. But the other game, they blew my team out of the water. The San Francisco 49ers beat them 43-17. So Ryan Fitzpatrick has been playing really well. And for this change to happen now, I think it's a little bit curious. I think the Dolphins have a bye week coming up, so at least they can get Tua ready for a couple of weeks and have him come in and be ready to roll. Like I said, I feel like the timing is curious, but all in all, look, let's be honest. You don't take anybody in your top 5, 10 picks and then they're going to sit for the year. It's just not happening. So I guess if not now, it was going to happen maybe 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, whichever. But I just still feel like it's a little bit curious, just simply because it's not like Fitzpatrick was playing poorly. He was playing pretty good. But Miami and Brian Flores, the head coach, they decided to make this move. We'll see what happens from here on out. Again, Miami is right there. Buffalo has got a couple of losses. The Patriots are struggling in the division. So Miami right now has as good of a chance as anybody to win that division. And with this being just a crazy year, there's no telling what will happen. So stay tuned. And of course, I'll be on there. Last but not least, we'll talk about the NFC East. The NFC East is really, 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 really bad, simply put. You have the Dallas Cowboys with 2 wins, 2-4. They got blasted by the Arizona Cardinals in the on Monday Night Football. You have the Philadelphia Eagles 1-4-1. The Washington Football Team has 1 win, and the New York Giants got their first win of the season against the Washington Football Team. So in all, that total is 5 wins. 5 wins. There are 6 teams, I think, that have that title. So let me see. Let me go down this list, see if I can remember this off the top of my head. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, Tennessee Titans, Seattle Seahawks, I'm missing somebody. Man. All right, so I got 4. Oh, yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs. And let me see. Am I missing one more? I might be missing one more. Let me see. I'm thinking. I think that's all I can think of right now. The Chicago Bears. Okay, there we go. So you have the Steelers, Titans, Ravens, Seahawks, Bears, and Chiefs. Those 6 teams have just as many wins as the NFC East combined. Let that sink in for a minute. The NFC East is tied with 6 teams for wins. That's pretty bad. Now, look, I can tell you this. I, of course, grew up in San Antonio, and now I live in Dallas, Fort Worth. Y'all know I cannot stand the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not a Cowboys fan at all. But seeing how I grew up in this state, I got to see a lot of Cowboys games, of course. And a lot of those games were against these division opponents, the Eagles, the Giants, and at the time, the Redskins. These games were heavily contested. These were most of the time games of the week, depending on which station had it and when the game was coming on. Some of these games, of course, were on prime time, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, whichever one. But a lot of those games back in the day were must-see TV. The NFC East was looked at not too long ago as the toughest division in all of the NFL. Now it is the weakest, and I don't know when it's going to get any better. There are the situations, particularly with New York and Washington. They look like they are hopeful because they each have first-year head coaches. The Giants have Joe Judge. The Redskins have Ron Rivera. And they look like they have a sense of direction, like things might be coming up for those 2 teams. Philadelphia, look, they just won the Super Bowl a few years ago, and they still have a good pedigree there. I feel like Carson Wentz has been playing very good ball. A lot of it has been from behind, But Philly played two of the tougher teams in the league, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, pretty tough. They just couldn't make plays down the stretch to put them over the hump. But the Eagles have been right there. They just don't have the wins to show for it. Dallas, they're a complete mess. They lost Dak Prescott for the year, of course. And last night, they didn't look that good. Ezekiel Elliott continued to fumble. He fumbled twice last night. But I'll have a shorty talking about the Cowboys later on this week. So I don't want to get too much on them because a lot of the stuff I'm hearing today about the Cowboys and them missing Dak, I think it's a little misguided. But I'll get to that later on this week. So with the NFC East again, it is really it's a bad division, and I don't know when it's going to get any better. But it's sad to see this division go down like it's been because again, these games between these teams were looked at as some of the toughest games. You knew they were going to be what they called slobber knockers back in the day, just complete and utter physical battles. And now these games are buried on the low key. Just nobody's really trying to watch these games. Hopefully they will be back soon. These things in terms of the divisions, which are the ones that are weak, they seem to go in cycles because it wasn't too long ago when the NFC West was looked at as a very weak division. Now they're looked at as one of the strongest, if not the strongest division. So these things kind of come and go. Well, the NFC East has been down for a while, and it's going to be interesting to see when they come back up. In terms of other NFL happenings, let's see. We had, again, the Patriots. They caught a loss to the Broncos. Not looking too good, but it's the Patriots. I'm not really too concerned about them at this moment. I think they just need to start getting things back together. They haven't been able to practice or play in the last couple of weeks because of COVID, but other teams are handling that situation better, such as the Tennessee Titans. They've just played 2 games. They played one last Tuesday. They played Sunday, and this was after not playing in 2 weeks. And they scored 42 points in each of those games. And Derrick Henry is an absolute beast. This dude had a 94-yard touchdown run against the Houston Texans, and he was running away from people. A man who is 6'5", 250 pounds should not be able to run away from DBs like he was doing. But Derrick Henry just looks like one of those guys. He's one of those classic running backs who simply just gets stronger and stronger as the game goes along. And it looks like he's going to get stronger and stronger as the season goes along. So Tennessee is looking really good. Ryan Tannehill, this is another guy I had ragged on over and over and over again. But ever since he's been at Tennessee, it looks like he has found a home there, and he is playing really well. And he led a drive to bring the game back to tie the game up in regulation and send the game into overtime off his throws. So you have to give him credit, not just for the play overall, but for the clutch play. Granted, Houston, I think, made a bad decision going for 2 instead of just kicking the extra point when they were up 36-29. I get what Romeo Cornell was trying to do. I understand if you do make the 2-point conversion, you have the team down 9, which means they need 2 scores. But in that situation, I don't think you really need to chase points there. Go ahead, kick the extra point, put the pressure on the Titans to have to go for 2 themselves. And then if they tie you, then what the worst that can happen is you go to overtime, and then you'll take your chances there. But they decided to go for a win. Not mad at the decision, but I don't think in that particular case that was the right one. As it is, Tennessee was able to take advantage, and now they are undefeated still, and they have a huge game coming up with the Steelers this week or on Sunday in Nashville. So that will be one of the games of the week right there. Also, what else happened? We saw Kansas City, they beat Buffalo 26-17 yesterday. And what was interesting about this one is how well Kansas City ran the game. They almost had 250 yards rushing in this game. rushing. If Kansas City can run the ball like that, and Buffalo has a good defense, it's not like they have a weak defense, but if Kansas City can run the ball like that, it is trouble. It is absolute trouble for the rest of the league. You already know what Patrick Mahomes can do with all those weapons over there. Travis Kelce at tight end, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman at the receiving spot, and then you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire running the ball well. Oh, and by the way, they just signed Le'Veon Bell to join that backfield too. So Kansas City just continues to load up on the weapons. I'm sure Bell, honestly, I don't see where he would not fit in. I think he would be a very, very good addition to the Chiefs. We know he is good at obviously running the ball, but he's a very good pass catcher and he's a good pass protector. So that duo, that potential duo with him and Edwards-Helaire, it's going to be tough for these other defenses to contend with that. We already know what Kansas City is capable of doing offensively. Having another weapon come in there, it's almost like the rich get richer. It is basically where I'm at with that one. Oh, let's go ahead and give credit to the Atlanta Falcons for giving their first win. Now, of course, at the beginning, I talked about Atlanta sports team struggling, or Georgia sports team struggling. For my boy Patrick, I guess it's not all bad. The Falcons actually got their first win this week, beating the Minnesota Vikings, who is their utter mess too. Maybe one of the most disappointing teams in the league right now. And then you have Tampa Bay destroying Green Bay 38-10 on Sunday as well. Tampa Bay was down 10-0, and then they scored 38 points. They were beating Aaron Rodgers up, 4 sacks. They had a couple of picks. One of them was a pick 6. And now people are questioning the Packers. Personally, I don't think it's one of those things where the Packers are going to go into a swoon. I think this was a game where Tampa Bay played really well, but their defense was not playing that good leading up to the game. So they had a good position, or they had a good game. Maybe they can continue it, but I'm still not necessarily sold on Tampa Bay's defense to be able to come up with the offense. And then there's one more game that I was going to point out. Oh, yeah, the Bears. As I mentioned earlier, they're 5-1. And a lot of people are wondering if the Bears are a fraud. Are they a fraudulent 5-1? Are they just getting lucky? Whatever. Look, here's the thing. One thing the Bears can do very well is play defense. And as long as they are able to play good defense, all they need from the offense is to be able to take care of the football. With Nick Foles in there instead of Mitch Trubisky, those chances go up of you not having as many turnovers. So hopefully, or in the Bears case, they keep that up. But we have to remember the Bears, there are a lot of people on that defense that was a top 5 defense a couple of years ago. And here they are, they're playing well again, they're forcing turnovers. So to me, especially with this year being what it is, being crazy, with everything a little bit off kilter, I don't think too many people should be surprised to see the Bears at 5-1. Now, can they keep it up? That remains to be seen. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because, again, they can play defense. When you can play defense and run the football like they can, you're always in a game. And that is two things the Chicago Bears do well. So, I mean, going through the league, I mean, you have your usual teams. I guess the Chiefs, again, they have 5 wins. So do the Ravens. A lot of people are also surprised about the Steelers being undefeated. They destroyed Cleveland 38-7 over the weekend. Again, Pittsburgh, same thing as the Bears. They can play defense and they can run the ball well. As long as Ben Roethlisberger stays healthy and the play of Claypool, the receiver, I think is his name. Yeah, Chase Claypool. As long as those guys stay healthy with that defense, Pittsburgh can get with anybody too. So again, if you can run the football, play defense, you are always in a game. I know everybody is so enamored with offense, pass, but that true formula of running the football, playing good defense, is always, always, always going to keep a team into the game. So with that, that is what I'm breathing on for this week. Everybody make sure to check out the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button while you're there. And also keep the likes coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. I still haven't heard from Patrick, so I hope everything is okay. And I hope he can be heard from sometime this week, since he wasn't able to get on the webcast with me. But other than that, everybody just stay tuned. Like I said, I plan on having a shorty coming up about the Dallas Cowboys, and there's other additions we are working on to get things going. So until then, like I said, everybody just stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I hope to hear from you guys, or I hope to talk to you guys later on this week. So everybody take care, and we'll be in touch.